Okay, hello and welcome back to Practical Knife Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Rough Ryder Brown Jigged Bone Peanut, which is RR110. Now this is a real little babo knife, but I actually quite like it. So you can see we've got a real little clip blade here, a little Turkish clip blade, and we've got a little pen blade as a secondary blade. Nail nicks on opposite sides. 440A stainless steel blade, nickel silver bolsters, pins, stainless steel backspacers, brass liners, brown jigged bone scales. Okay, we've talked about all of this before. 440A doesn't hold an edge super long, but easy to sharpen, super stainless. For a budget knife, it's just fine. And this knife at regular price at SMKW is $9.99. Although it's out of stock right now, and immediately before going out of stock, it was on sale for a long time for something like $6.99 or maybe $7.99. But yeah, the regular price was $9.99. In any case, before we get inside, just to make sure that I get this mentioned, there was one little flaw with this knife, which was that there was a little bit of blade wrap right here, right where it would come in contact with the little swell above this pin in the center. And I'm just going to mention this because I've had people, and one of them being William from William's Knife Life. Hello, William. How are you? I know you watch these videos. People have asked how you remedy blade wrap. So, of course, you have to sharpen the blade wrap out, but if you have it so the kick isn't tall enough and it comes in contact with that pin, the only way around that really is to lower it down real slow, which is annoying. So all I do is I raise the kick. So this blade was recessed into the well before, but I raised the kick just by putting a tiny touch of super glue right on the kick here to raise it. And I raised it just until the tip is just above there, and now or just below the surface of the well, so you can't catch it with your fingernail or anything. And now no more blade wrap. What do you know? In any case, quite handsome brown jigged bone. I really like that jigged bone, but we'll take a closer look at that inside. Let's look at how this works. So, let's test the clip blade for sharpness. Whoops. This paper is continually getting more and more wet from being out here the longer we stay out here. But you can see, despite doing it on wet paper, the blade's pretty sharp. Let's test the little pen blade. Also sharp. In fact, the pen blade, I believe, is a little bit sharper than the clip blade, and that's because I usually use the clip blade, and this one I just reserve as like a little scalpel in case I ever need to use it for anything like that. Now, let's test it on cardboard. This would be a nice little EDC. You hardly notice it in your pocket. Yeah, that was easy. Very little resistance to cut through cardboard. Now, I mentioned that you're not going to be able to hold an edge with this 440A super long, but you know, you have your trade-offs. It's very stainless and it's easy to sharpen. Okay, here, let's look at how we do on wood in case you're out maybe whittling. This is pine. This is a very soft wood. Oh, I forgot to do the apple. We'll do the apple after this. So this is a small knife. You're not going to be able to do a lot of big work on wood with it. Yeah, having problems on that corner. Let's try this one. It's sharp enough to cut under there, but the size of this knife makes it a little bit tricky to do long feathers, if I'm being quite honest. You definitely can cut into the wood, but the feathers just aren't ideal, and that's mostly due to the small size of this. Now, if you were doing things like, you know, carving or whittling or whatever, yeah, I mean, you can carve into the wood just fine. It's just those long feathers that you'd like for fires. It's a little bit tough to make them with this really small little blade. In any case, let's try on oak anyway, since that's our typical regimen for testing. This is red oak. It's the hardest wood we have in our forest. And yeah, similarly, I'm able to cut into the wood fine. You can see there's little feathers that come out, but it's really hard with this tiny blade and this tiny handle to really get going for feather sticks. So again, if you were doing small, detailed, maybe carving or something like that, it is sharp enough and the profile is fine for getting into the wood. It's just, it's so small that it's really hard to make feathers. So, you know, you got a few. If you were in an emergency situation, if you obviously you'd be diligent, you'd keep trying, and you'd eventually get enough to make a little fire with. But I would not recommend this for, like, needless to say, taking as your only knife to go camping. Okay, where's my apple? Oh, it's in my pocket. There's my apple. Apple peeling. Now, the obligatory mention that I'm a terrible apple peeler. But I have a feeling that this is going to go quite well, because the blade is super thin. The handle is very comfortable in this reverse grip like this. Very comfortable. One of the more comfortable handles I've had, just because of its small size, and the width actually helps. Having the 2 layers in here, really nice right underneath my fingers there. But yeah, the blade is nice and thin. You can get underneath the skin really well. Now, I'm a terrible apple peeler. But doesn't that look like that's going pretty well, Ma? Oops, got way deep on that one. I jinxed myself.
You didn't want to eat any apple, did you?
What are you talking about? Anyway, if I was good at apple peeling, this as a tool is certainly more than fine. I'm just, yeah, you know, a poor craftsman blames his tools. I'm not blaming the tool, I'm blaming myself. So, that's our little look at the outdoor portion of the Rough Ryder Brown Jigged Bone Peanut RR110. And we'll take a closer look in just a second when we go inside. Hello and welcome back to Practical Knife Reviews. I know I said it like it was the beginning of a video again. It's not. We're still here on Practical Knife Reviews looking at our little bay bone knife, the Rough Ryder Brown Jigged Bone Peanut RR110. I already talked about all the specs, so we're not going to bore you with that. We just want to get a closer look at this. I guess the first thing I'll show you is you can still see a little bit of where the blade wrap was on here before I fixed it. You can see right there, just ahead of my fingernail. Now I sharpened it out, so there's no more kind of mushrooming, as it were, of the edge. It's just recessed a little bit at this point. But, you know, after you sharpen it a few more times, or after I sharpen it a few more times, that'll be gone. You can see right here on the kick, you really can't even see it on the video, but I put just a drop of the thicker gel control super glue. And that was enough to raise the kick so that the blade no longer had blade wrap. So it was a very minor thing, but I really hate blade wrap. Anyway, you saw the clip point. There's the little pen blade on it. And when I say little, I mean little. But let's take a quick look at this. Brown Jigged Bone. How pretty is that, Ma?
Yeah, I like this one. It's cute.
That bone is really nice. I really like their Brown Jigged Bone. We have that Brown Jigged Bone Doctor's knife too, in the same series. And the bone on that, I don't know. I really like the coloration between this like light caramel color and then this dark brown, almost blackish brown. Really pretty. Anyway, can see pretty nice fit and finish. No gaps. Nothing like that. The blade originally, this clip point blade, yeah, it's a little bit off center again, just from use. I had it centered at one point. It's come off centered again. I can center it with 1 or 2 blows with the mallet. You've seen in my how-to video on how to center a blade on a traditional pocket knife, you'll see how to do that. And I've gotten some good feedback from people saying that they had knives that were off-center that they tried it on and it worked for them. And now they have perfectly centered traditional pocket knife slip joint knives. So I'm just going to give that another tap or two with the mallet, and that'll straighten that back out to being dead center. But overall, nice fit and finish. The biggest issue was the blade wrap, because this was just recessed ever so slightly too far into the handle. Let's get some measurements. Well, Mom, you give your thoughts on it.
This is, it's such a small knife, it's perfect to carry in a purse. And then I could open my beef jerky package while I'm driving along on the road, and I can't get the plastic open.
We're very food motivated in this family. Overall open, we're looking at just over 4 3/4 inches. It's not quite 4 7/8, but just over 4 3/4 inches open. Oops, forgot to measure the blade length. The blade overall is 2 1/8 if you measured it right here. 2 1/8 with a cutting length of 1 7/8. So 1 7/8 inch long cutting edge on this blade. That should be legal most places. If you have just the pen blade open, you're looking at it being just a smidge over 4 1/4 inches. This blade is 1 and about just over 1 1/2, not maybe 1 5/8 inches long with a cutting edge of 1 3/8 inches. So again, very small. Closed length is just over 2 3/4, maybe 2 7/8. In any case, very cute little knife. All right, let's get a weight measurement on it. Slide this in. Turn the light. I don't know why this one is very you got to turn that way. Okay, turn the scale on, and we are looking at a whopping 1.2 ounces, which is a whopping 35 grams. This knife really is tiny, but it's very cute, and I like to carry it. I carry this knife pretty frequently. I tend to keep it in my shirt pocket because I pretty much always have a shirt pocket. And at this length, just as like a little extra knife that you can use for opening a package or, you know, trimming your fingernails or whatever, it slips into a shirt pocket and nobody even knows it's there. Yeah, and like I said, normal price is $10. It's on sale pretty frequently when it's in stock for something like 7 or 8. And at that price, if you want, you know, this really nice genuine cow bone handle, just a little shirt pocket knife or something for my mom's purse, you certainly could do worse than the Rough Ryder Brown Jigged Bone Peanut. And a peanut, I should mention, is just that's the style of knife that we have here, where we have a very small knife with 2 blades, traditionally with a clip point blade and a pen blade, on this little bit of a kind of serpentine frame of the handle. That's what a peanut is. This is a peanut, and I like this peanut. Any other thoughts on it, Ma, before we wrap it up?
I like the nameplate on it because the knife is so small.
The shield right here?
Yeah, the shield is really pretty.
Let's get it in focus for the folks. There it is. Rough Ryder. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
And if that's it, then we'll wrap up this episode of Practical Knife Reviews looking again at the Rough Ryder Brown Jigged Bone Peanut RR110. Let's get that to focus. There it is. All right. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you again with another episode of Practical Knife Reviews real soon.